U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has delivered a stark warning about China's ambitions in Asia, saying America will defend its interest in the region. At Singapore's Shangri dialogue, Hegseth said China wants to dominate Asia. He called on countries to follow Washington's lead and bolster defense spending to counter the Chinese threat. The U.S. defense chief accused Beijing of preparing to use military force to alter the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. Chinese officials have rejected the accusation and once again warned the U.S. to, in their words, not play with fire over Taiwan. Hegseth said the U.S. doesn't want a war, but would be prepared to fight one.
We do not seek conflict with Communist China. We will not instigate nor seek to subjugate or humiliate. President Trump and the American people have an immense respect for the Chinese people and their civilization. But we will not be pushed out of this critical region. Again, to be clear, any attempt by Communist China to conquer Taiwan by force would result in devastating consequences for the Indo-Pacific and the world.
Let's discuss this further with Vina, Nadjibulla, Vice President of Research and Strategy at the Asia-Pacific Foundation of Canada. Good to have you with us, Vina. Now, what strategy do you think is behind Pete Hegseth's speech, and what kind of signal is he trying to send to China?
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation. I think what the Secretary was trying to do was to position U.S. as a trusted partner in the region and to reassure allies and partners that the U.S. is still committed to the Indo-Pacific, that the U.S. is committed to deterring China's actions of coercion and aggression in the region. And then also he called on allies and partners to increase their defense spending. Now, the primary audience was very much allies and partners, Australia, Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, others who were in the room, whereas, of course, China was also an audience, but China was not present at the highest levels at the Shangri-La. And the message to China was very much U.S. will not be deterred and will stay in the region, that the U.S. cannot be pushed back from the region, and that the U.S. will stand up for its allies. It was the most comprehensive articulation of Department of Defense vision for the Indo-Pacific. And I say that because obviously with President Trump, it's a little unclear what various departments are doing and saying. But from a defense perspective, this was the most clear articulation of the vision.
Right, I was just going to ask on that. It's a sort of start of a new approach to Asia.
So again, from defense and security perspective, there's some continuity here with what the Biden administration was doing, and frankly, what the Trump was doing under first Trump administration. This idea that there needs to be collective action, collective deterrence, peace through strength, and support for the various alliances, minilaterals that the U.S. has set up. What's different this time around is that the security and defense strategy is completely contradictory with the economic strategy as well as the development approach to the region. So the U.S. trade war, as well as how it's been approaching development partnerships in the region, is undermining this vision of the U.S. as a reliable partner that wants to still remain be an active partner in this region.
And as you mentioned that, the trade war concurrently with these military tensions, is it worsening the situation as these are, I suppose, intertwined?
Absolutely. It's really difficult for countries like Japan, Australia, or others to raise their defense spending to 5%, which is what the U.S. is calling for, at the same time as the U.S. is putting in place tariffs and trade measures that are undermining economic growth in these countries. So there is a definite contradiction in what the U.S. is trying to do in the region, and that, of course, is undermining its overall credibility, overall soft power, and is making allies and partners nervous, and it's making countries that are more sort of in the middle and that are hedging to get closer to China, which is, again, undermining the overall vision that the U.S., I think, is trying to pursue in this region, which is to deter and to prevent China from becoming what the U.S. says a hegemonic power in Asia.
Vina, Nadjibulla, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.